I just heard from this software company that's gonna automate my back end. They're gonna make all my work easier, faster, cheaper. Everything's gonna be amazing. It's gonna be incredible. I wanna sign up. This is what I hear every single day from my small business owner clients. And the question I ask is, well, what problem are you solving here? That's our role as humans, to be discerning. How do we discern when is the right moment to utilize AI? Folks are feeling really frustrated. And I said, well, it's obvious what's going on. Yeah, they're afraid. That's a fear response. When people hear AI, they think I am going to be replaced. So that's the discernment again we want to be bringing into the fold as leaders. The genesis is around what problems are we solving. And when we ask that, we're going to see, oh, wow, the solution isn't AI full stop. And I met with crickets because there is so much excitement around onboarding AI tools and utilizing them and replacing roles that are feeling redundant and inefficient. I get it. And we all do have to be saving money right now. Like everything's really tight. But if we don't really know what problems we're solving, we might jump into a solution that actually causes more confusion, slows things down, and actually makes things more expensive. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm Lia Garvin, and this is the new Manager Playbook. And I'm sharing tools, tips, strategies for being a great manager, for leading with confidence and ease in this era of AI where everything's changing and people are saying that your job can be automated. That's what I talked about last week. Managers' jobs cannot be fully automated. And if you missed that one, tune back in because this is a really important moment for leaders, for managers, for business owners, for whoever you are listening to figure out, how do we stay relevant? How do I support my teams in the right way? Where do we utilize AI tools or not, right? So that's what we're going to talk about today. How to really discern, because that's our role as humans, to be discerning. How do we discern when is the right moment to utilize AI? Because there are so many incredible examples. There is so much ease it can add to your personal workload as a leader, to your teams, to really free them up to do more of the human thinking work that a lot of times folks don't even have time for when they're so overloaded, right? It can really add to your capacity. There's just so many great uses for it. But how do we not use it in a way that actually creates chaos? Because I want to say right now is a moment where there is so much kind of hysteria around it. So much just talking like, hey, we're going to put that in AI and automate this, that even when you talk about AI, if it's not, even if you're like, hey, we're going to utilize these AI use cases or we're using this way, people immediately assume, oh my gosh, you're going to replace my job. And this showed up with a client. I coach a VP working on strategy operations in a startup. And she shared that there was a lot of resistance around a new hire that was running like AI strategy for this startup. Folks are feeling really frustrated. They're disagreeing with all the things that he was suggesting. And they're not really kind of, treating him with respect and like kind of listening to his perspectives and things like that. And I said, well, it's obvious what's going on. And she said, well, what do you mean? Like, I think they just kind of need to be more deferent to some of the leadership in our team. And I said, well, yeah, they're afraid. That's a fear response. When people hear AI, they think I am going to be replaced. I'm telling you, right? Because that's what the overarching narrative is. And that's happening in places. That's a real situation. I have another client that works in an engineering company. And whenever kind of something goes wrong, leadership asks like, well, would this have been resolved with AI? So there was a threat. There's a true threat, okay? Now, the reality is these tools are not fully replacing us overnight, and there's a lot of opportunity to utilize them in the right way. This is why we have to understand this as leaders. We cannot just hope that it just like works itself out. This is coming, it's here, and we need to be thoughtful about it. So you as a leader, I want to equip you with the most empowering and the most important question around understanding AI and how does it apply to your team. And that is, what problem am I trying to solve? Am I trying to connect what problem in the team? Do we have like a dot connection issue? Like information is not getting from one person to the next? Is it that we need to create like a lot of volume of work, multiple iterations and things like that? Do we need research and data aggregation? What problem are we solving? Because when we know that, we know the specific use case to figure out, well, where will AI and automation really support with this? The three situations I talked about around information flow, data aggregation, dot connecting, those are really great use cases for AI, right? Like let's say you are working in a marketing team and you want to aggregate trends in a certain industry for a client. Utilizing AI or news aggregators to say, hey, what's market analysis? What's what's trends, what's going on, and then having that human look, oh, okay, based on my experience in this world, based on my understanding and expertise in marketing, let me layer on that human analysis, right? But pulling all that research, like maybe you can save that person a ton of time and actually generate higher quality output because they found data that maybe they wouldn't have found as easily. Dot connecting across and just decimating information is another one, right? Like that's a huge challenge in teams. Folks not having information cascaded down from leaders all the way to every rung of the organization is a really big challenge. That's something that we haven't in the past had really straightforward ways to solve. Leadership teams have meetings, they set priorities, they set goals, managers maybe hear about it, but when you get all the way down 4, 5, 6 levels down the organization, what you see more often than not is people have no freaking idea what the priorities are, what the strategies are. They sure as hell don't know how their job fits into the bigger picture. That's something that we could really utilize AI around, right? Hey, here's the strategy. What are ways in which we can communicate this? How can we share this at these different levels of detail? Like that's a great use case because nobody was doing that. Right? So that's actually a great place to use it. Like, hey, what would we have on our team, in our business, in our company? What are the gaps? What are the big problems? What are the challenges? That's the first place to utilize AI, right? Like, why would we start replacing people and functions when we have our own stuff we need to be cleaning up? That's the place to start. Okay. So another, I work with a events agency and they struggle with having everyone have a full picture of all the work happening, right? That's a great use case for AI, right? That's a problem. Hey, visibility information, what's going on at bird's eye view. That is an actual problem that they have that no one has been able to crack. Now we utilize AI to help with that. See what I'm saying? So we don't just go, well, I heard that I can save this amount on labor if I replace this person who was actually doing a pretty good job, but they're expensive because they're a human. How can I replace that? Like that's a different phase of this whole thing, right? Like that's not what I'm talking about here. I want you to utilize these tools in a way that actually enhances your business and amplifies it and doesn't create new problems. Because let's just be honest, if you are utilizing AI and just replacing roles and things like that, and you have all of these holes around cascading information, around aggregation of data, around dot connecting, around research, those holes will still exist. And then you don't have people identifying where they are. And so you will actually get further behind by doing this out of order. Because that's the thing with technology is it's going to play kind of like whack-a-mole on these things. We want to understand really how to weave all of it together. And that's where your discernment as a leader, your understanding of the bigger picture, and your diagnosis of the problems are going to come into play. So this is what I really want to empower you with, that question. What are the challenges that are showing up on the team today? And I'm going to tell you right now, it's often decisions not being communicated down the chain. That's one I hear in every company, whether it's Google or it's a 3-person law firm, it's the same. Okay. Decisions feel opaque. I don't know how to weigh into decisions. I don't know what they are. I don't know how they're communicated. That is a pain point we have not addressed yet. People haven't addressed it yet. Let's figure that one out. Another is, gosh, having hard conversations, I don't feel prepared for that, right? That's another problem. That's a people thing, okay, right? Another challenge is information's not communicated out of meetings, right? Well, hey, those meeting note takers, Fathom or Otter or whatever they are, those have been invaluable for making sure we've got notes, they're going to the meeting attendees, right? Like that's an AI solution. So we want to figure out the problems first, and then we know, oh, okay, this one here around the feedback, around the difficult conversations, that's something we really need some leadership skills built around. We're going to bring in a consultant or a coach or a trainer. We're going to really tackle that because that's the human stuff. The meeting notes, nobody wants to take meeting notes and it's like the worst task ever. That's an AI solution because nobody was doing that. So this is the reality, is when we get really clear on the problems and when we become experts in diagnosing what are the breakdowns happening on the team, then we can apply the right solution. And it's not going to be AI full stop, and it's not going to be avoiding AI because there's so much opportunity by utilizing different tools. I mean, note taker is like literally the lowest hanging fruit. I think we're all using that stuff now, right? Because the information flow was a really, really big pain. So what are cases like that, right? How do people get that flow of information? Another is, what else shows up in teams? Well, time management, that's like the biggest one, in delegating, right? So maybe you figure out a solution where you build your skills leadership wise around delegating, around how do you communicate expectations and requirements, and then maybe utilize something with AI and automations to help kind of move those tasks down the chain, right? A two-part solution. But it's first born from having an actual problem. And I'm just going to say it, like on the new Manager Playbook, I'm not going to say the solution is just to replace everybody with AI because it's cheaper. Like, I'm not going to say it. I don't agree with it. I don't believe that. So that's not what we're talking about. Because if the problem you're trying to solve is exclusively saving money, that's really not what this show is about. This is about how you be the best leader and the best manager. So I don't know. That's for a different conversation. If your challenge is productivity, is high turnover, is low output, those are things that cost a lot of money. Well, then those are things to dive into, right? High turnover is a very expensive problem that is not solved by just having AI, right? Replace jobs. If you want to have quality people and you have a turnover problem, there's probably a culture issue. There might be a psychological safety issue. There might be a lack of clarity around, well, how do I advance here? What am I even doing? Right? So that's job, role specificity and understanding job requirements and what performance success looks like. Those are all things that reduce turnover. Recognition, we talk about a lot on the show. Those are things that will solve the turnover problem. So even looking, if your goal is cost cutting, savings, all that stuff, and you're thinking automation is the full solution, it still isn't, right? So that's the discernment again we want to be bringing into the fold as leaders. Okay, so your question to be armed with every day with everything is to think about, what problem am I trying to solve, or what problems exist within my team, within my organization? Do a little root cause analysis and then decide, okay, is this a skills competencies thing? We want to get some leadership training in here. Is this an automation use case? Then we define requirements and we make sure we have our tools to really be able to communicate to the team how we're utilizing that. That's part of the picture too, right? So it's a two-part solution, but it's the genesis is around what problems are we solving? And we ask that, we're going to see, oh, wow, the solution isn't AI full stop. And that's going to be a message to communicate back to our teams, asking them, hey, when you run into a snag, let's look at it. Was it a, miscommunication around expectations? Did we not really clear on what success looks like? Do we agree to a timeline that really wasn't feasible given these external considerations? You're going to empower your own team members as better problem solvers by thinking in that way. And then that makes their jobs more future-proof too, so that they can take that critical thinking. Because if we're not bringing critical thinking, then we're not bringing that human lens to the work enough. So this is a skill we're going to need more than ever. And you can start by modeling it as a leader. All right. See you next time.